Welcome to Old Comic Guy. Morning comic lovers. Going to talk a little bit about collecting on the cheap. If you collect comics and you do it not necessarily to flip them, even though this can be a good way to flip them, but you're looking at more collecting and getting your collection, oftentimes you can find deals online at auctions. Now, I've had some good deals. I want to be clear with that. Sometimes, though, they're not so good. So I said that I'd share everything in my comic hauls. So here's what we got. This came from a estate sale auction out of North Carolina, and we got some Amazing Hero. Pretty good. It's all right. It's not in great shape. Dirty. Definitely needs a clean. But again, the great thing is all of this was about $30, including shipping. So that's not bad. Amethyst, Princess of Gem World, #1. You do end up getting some decent stuff, Marvel, DC, Image, etc. And then you end up with a lot of, well, miscellaneous stuff. Anything goes. And a lot of this is like no name. Not though, and if you, I mean, it's Alan Moore. So it's not that it's not somebody you wouldn't have heard of, but sometimes they're up and comers. Sometimes they're people who are just, they want to do their own thing. The Chronicles. This is epic. So this is actually Marvel. It was one of their lines. And then we have Bruce Lee by Malibu. No longer with us. Malibu has since gone away. Those were all unbagged. They just came nicely in some grocery bags, plastic grocery bags, just wrapped up. Camelot 3000. This is #6. These could come from anywhere. Captain Paragon and the Sentinels of Justice, AC Comics, Americomics. They do Femforce and stuff. Cloak and Dagger. This is #1 of the mini-series before their own series started. We have some Conan. This is that early, what is this, early 80s, late 70s, well, mid 70s, I guess. Roy Thomas and Sal Buscema. Another one. And these are all right. We're going to get to one that's really bad. Daredevil Chronicles. So, yeah. I hadn't heard of this. This is a interview that was done with Frank Miller, which is kind of cool. And it's just basically the transcript of their interview back before things were all put on video and stuff like that. They would have interviews, and that's pretty neat. I thought it was pretty, I saw it, didn't know what it was, so I didn't have a problem going after it. Again, you don't see all of it when you look at the pictures, but you do get to see some of it. So we have Dawn, #2, and then we have Dawn, #3. We have a DC Direct Currents. This would advertise what DC was coming out with. I thought that was kind of nostalgic. They used to be free in the comic shop, just sitting on the counter. A long time ago, clearly. And back before Free Comic Book Day, there were things like the DC Sampler. And it was just a free book that would talk about some stuff that's coming up and what's going to be out there. So who's who. So you can tell this is, you know, the 80s stuff. Batman and the Outsiders. Just kind of nifty little thing to let the people know what's coming out. We'll let customers know. So this one So this is Doctor Strange. It's an annual, number 3. Yeah. And if you smell it, so there's the problem with getting these from places that are, well, more wet than where I'm at, is that sometimes books get wet. And you'll notice this has no sheen on it. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. No sheen on the cover at all. It's gotten wet pretty badly. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this one's going to be prone to mold at some point. You can kind of see, if you look here, on that first page, a little bit of it right up at the top. Now, it doesn't have a lot, and I understand that there are ways to get mold off, but it's also risky to put this with the regular magazine, with your regular books, because mold spores can spread. So this is something that's going to go away. I'm not going to risk it. I don't want to damage my books, and so that one's just going away. We got some, again, there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff. It was all bagged in a grocery bag. So some of it's good, some of it's not. I'm very careful with it. I do live in the desert. I leave the stuff out in the garage for a little bit, especially this new stuff that comes in from these auction houses, to let them, well, completely dry out. Dracula and Zorro, when Topps had the license for them. Some Marvel Dreadstar. Pretty cool. I think this is, kind of the cool stuff that people forget about when they do their comic book collecting, or it's less popular. Maybe that's what I'll say. It's not the Wolverines from the 90s and etc. So Excalibur, and a really cool, this is Extermination, #1 by Boom Studios. Before they started calling everything Virgin Variants, they had this. Yeah, and it wasn't called a Virgin Variant. Another Americomics. This one is Femforce, #3. So that's cool. I don't know which edition this is, or which volume, because there were a few. So Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. And then I have 7, I have 8, and then I did get number 18, and you'll notice again sheen gone, or mostly gone on this one. It doesn't have any signs of mold as I went through it. It is, a reader copy. It's not like this is something that's you'd send off and get graded. Once in a while on these you can find something that would go and be graded. Most of the time what you're looking at is good reader copies of stuff. So Fury of Firestorm is #4. Ghost Rider. So we have Indiana Jones, Tomb of the Gods. I have 3 and 4. This is kind of the thing with these, you get this sort of stuff where you don't get the full set, you get pieces of it. Inside Image #18, or if you prefer this cover, it's the same. They just kind of did this, and it's a back-to-back, so like this side is facing a flip book. That's what I was thinking. So this side's facing this way, and then of course this side is facing that way. But Inside Image was one of the first things they were doing with telling what was new and exciting from Image. We have a John Stanley Summer Fun with, it's got Nancy in here, it's got Tubby, it's got a lot of the old kids ones you would see, kind of classic. This was a free comic book day. I don't remember what year. It's when I was not collecting for a time. And then we have, again, a reader copy. This is Justice League number 143. And it's in pretty good shape. This one doesn't have, like, there's damage, right? It's definitely damaged. But it makes a great reader copy if you don't already have it. And for the price, it's worth it. King of Kings. So a lot of the, there were a lot of Christian books back in the day. 70s, 80s, even 60s and stuff. This one is the 80s, actually, 1980. But there were a lot of Christian books, and this is one of them. They're usually also, you'll notice, not the same size. So let's see if I can do this. So we have a Bronze Age, the Justice League, and then the King of Kings. Not. Probably silver, might even be gold, just by how far it's different. And that was kind of standard. Lady Pendragon. This was another Image. This one's number 6. Legends of Camelot Merlin. This is by Caliber Comics. And other than the one that was really bad, most of them just have like a little roll to them. A prep or a press might help these. So this is Malibu Sun. This is very similar to the DC sampler or Image, Inside Image, just to tell them, you know, what's going on with Malibu back in the 80s, early 90s. They did this, and then Ultraverse Mantra. I don't know many people, this is number 3. I don't know many people that were a big fan of the Ultraverse line, but they did have a little following. Marvel's Maverick. This one, so it got water damage too. You can kind of tell the sheen is a little off up top. Again, these weren't bagged or boarded. I am probably not going to keep this one in my collection, but I might. At this point, I'm just going to watch it. There's no sign of mold, but I am going to watch it, leave it sitting out in the garage for a bit, dry it out completely, and then I'll just kind of be careful with it. I may already have it, in which case I may have a better one, so I'm not really worried about it. I get a lot of interesting things doing this. So Marvel Classics, Marvel Classic Comics is very much similar to the old Classics Illustrated. That was around since the early 50s. They did this in the 70s, and it's retelling novels, so regular novels. Here we have The Prince and the Pauper. You could have Arabian Nights, Count of Monte Cristo, all the basics. And this one's a reader copy. It's not in great shape by any means, but I also got 2 Sergeant Furies, so that's cool. These are not bad shape. Actually, not bad shape at all. None of these were with the ones that had mold. So we have 136 and 137. 136 is a little bit nicer copy than 137, but they're still very nice. They're not going to grade like near mint in any way, shape, or form, but the 136 might make a fine for sure. Maybe even a very fine minus. The other one will be very good. we have Secret 6. This one also saw some water damage. It again has no mold, but has taken some damage. It's got a little bit loss of the sheen. I'm not, again, this is going to go with the Maverick. It's not one I'm for sure going to keep. And it'll end up at Goodwill or donate to a library. This is Silver Surfer, Warlock Resurrection from the early 90s. That was a short series. This one did get some damage and is kind of sticking together. This one is probably not going to go in my collection. I'm going to hope I have it already, but I'm pretty sure that one's got the signs of mold coming. Spanner's Galaxy. This is #1 from 80s. DC space was a popular place at the time. Marvel was doing stuff with space. So everybody was trying to. We have Star Reach. This is by Eclipse Comics. Again, no longer around. Starstruck. This is by Epic, which was Marvel at the time, or is Marvel. These were fine. Again, sometimes with these you end up with authors that, or artists that you didn't know, and that's where they got their start. Steed and Mrs. Peel. These are the Avengers. Yes, they're not Marvel's Avengers, but there was a TV show called The Avengers. 60s, I don't remember exactly. These were the characters from it. This is by Boom Studios, #11. So that's always interesting. I don't know if that may have had something to do with why Marvel has never come out with a TV series strictly called The Avengers. They have to always give it some other name with it. That's partially because I think they may own that license-wise. Maybe not. Tex Benson, Metro Comics. Again, not something I'm familiar with. This is a black and white, 3 of a 4-issue miniseries, but black and whites are okay. Remember, Eastman started with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in black and white. Thor here got number 252 and 271. Both are in pretty good shape, so that's nice. And no damage or anything to these. Vortex by Vortex Comics. This is their anthology, black and white, and it just has multiple different stories in it. This is from Vortex Comics. Yeah, not much is known about them. I don't know very much. But yeah, so you find all sorts of weird stuff when you do these online auction ones. Who's Who? DC's tell all about their characters, and then Marvel did the official handbook to the Marvel Universe. Wildcats #5. I don't know if you can see it. The sheen on this has been, well, it's Image, and they're usually very shiny, but it's pretty much gone. This one has had water damage quite a bit. I didn't see any mold, but I'm probably not going to keep this one because I don't want to risk it contaminating other books. So there it is. Wildcats #47. That was fine. Again, those that came, so again, they were just stored however they were stored before they ended up at these estate auctions. This one was in a bag. There's a few others that you saw that were bagged. None of the bagged ones, and I've pulled most of them out, have had any sort of mold issues. The only ones were ones that have some water damage. So, Witchblade #68. And I'll be honest, any Witchblade I get is more than I had. I only had a couple. From way back in the very beginning, that was right when I stopped collecting, by Top Cow for Image, and then Witchblade 110. I'm not even sure if these are the same series or if it restarted. I'll have to look into that when I catalog them. Indiana Jones Chronicles. This is one of those by Dark Horse. It's a thicker book. I don't want to call it a graphic novel, but maybe we should use the term graphic novel because this wasn't anywhere else. This was not like a retelling of a story. It was just that thick. And then Youngblood Strike File, number 3. And there's this cover, and this was one of those fancy flip books. This cover, and you'll notice it's got some markings on it. Again, a clean. Some of that might come off, but I think some of that's in pen, and that's not going anywhere. So again, this wasn't very much, but these are a way that you can fill. So out of the huge stack that I have, again, most of these reader copies for sure, they'll definitely be filled. Some of them I have, and I'll get rid of the ones I don't for my collection. And then there's a few out of that that I'm not keeping. They're not good. There's, what is there, 5 books here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. And that's kind of the risk you take when you get the estate sales. You're not going to get, not necessarily estate, but estate auctions. And I've done this through Goodwill auctions. I've done this through even Canadian auctions. You get some good stuff sometimes, but many times you end up with, that's kind of, but there wasn't anything super great in here. Most of it's not bad, but nothing super great. And then some I wouldn't even keep. That's kind of the risk with those auctions, but they are a nice way, inexpensive way to add a ton of books to your collection, even though some of them aren't something you'll probably keep, but that's okay. Anyway, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.